Well, here we are. What an amazing day with so much going on. We have a huge update on the epic water park in Grand Prairie with a Muslims-only event. It appears that they're changing the entire Muslim-only thing to something else, because it appears they are in serious legal trouble based on their actions. I will get into all that coming up. But the biggest story to break today, because we really got into the epic water park stuff yesterday, but we have a big follow-up. But the biggest story to start with today is, praise God, Athena Strand's killer has gotten the death penalty today. I cannot tell you how much joy and emotion that I have in hearing, and when it happened, I did a post immediately and put it on all my social media channels, and my reaction was praise God, because this is justice. I also will be talking to the best crime reporter in Dallas-Fort Worth in about 15 minutes on this podcast, a woman who I've had on my show on the radio for years here in Dallas-Fort Worth. She is WFAA TV Channel 8's Rebecca Lopez, or as I like to call her, Relo. And she is an incredible crime reporter, and I know because I followed her work. She was at the Athena Strand murder trial for the entire time, to my knowledge, and she knows every little intricacy, including being in the courtroom when the audio of him violating her, sexually assaulting her, and beating her, trying to kill her multiple times, including what would end her life, stomping on her face with his shoe. This madman, this animal, this agent of Satan is going to die. The people of the state of Texas put this man to death. He will be put in the ground, as I have been asking and urging and praying for some time now. So we'll talk to Rebecca Lopez, WFAA TV Channel 8, in 15 minutes. We'll go through all the details, the hard stuff, the tough stuff, the important stuff. But first, I want to tell you that this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSprob.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy Martin's been my CPA for over 9 years, a loyal partner and sponsor of my show. Let's get to it, because I want to do my complete and total reaction to Athena Strand's murderer being killed. I don't even like saying the guy's name, to be honest with you, but so a couple things we're going to do. I've got audio from the jury sentencing. Let's start with that first. Let me go to, I have a short one and I have a long one. Here we go. This is the one I want to go to first. This is the sentencing.
Mr. Horner, if you'd stand, please. It's the order of the court that you, Tanner Lynn Horner, has been adjudged to be guilty of the offense of capital murder as found by the jury. Jury having answered the special issues, making it mandatory that your punishment be death, it is therefore the order of this court that your punishment be death. Before the hour of sunrise on a date to be determined by this court, upon a mandate of affirmance issued by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals at the State Penitentiary in Huntsville, Texas, you will be caused to die in accordance with the rules and regulations established by the Texas Department of Criminal Justice until you, said Tanner Horner, are dead. Said execution procedure shall be determined and supervised by the Director of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. The clerk of this court shall issue a death warrant in accordance with this sentence directed to the Director of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for that purpose. Clerk shall deliver such warrant to the sheriff of this county and to be by him delivered to the Director of the Department of Criminal Justice together with you, and you will remand to the custody of the Tarrant County Jail to await transportation to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice at Huntsville, Texas, and the execution of this sentence. I will sign this death sentence as required by law. You may be seated. Is there an allocution?
We're going to go to the allocution in a moment, which is it's a big word, but I believe that just means the victim impact statement. And the uncle, I'm sorry, it's emotional. The uncle of Athena Strand speaks. I'm going to play that in a moment, but I want to make this very clear from everything I've learned. And Marcos Lopez, watching us, says, my condolences and prayers to Athena's family. Amen. Pray. Here's what I pray for when people lose somebody. I pray for God's comfort, and I pray for God's provision. I ask that you now pray. I praise God. I said, praise God. I praise you, God, for putting him to death. I loved hearing, I will sign a death warrant. I want to make it very clear. We don't do the death penalty because it's an eye for an eye. That's Old Testament. New Testament is what, if you're a Christian, applies. And Romans 13 says that God installed the government, whether you like it or not, which one whether it's the one you like or not, and that God gives the government the sword for a reason. If you don't obey the laws of the land, you have a reason to fear because he put that government in. And the sword is not to tickle you, but to kill you. And the lie of thou shalt not kill is not it. It's thou shalt not murder. Putting somebody down for killing somebody is an execution, and it's God's justice. The people of the state of Texas soberly put this into law. The people of the state of Texas who had nothing to do with this crime, this heinous crime, multiple crimes, had nothing to do with it, and they soberly, righteously sentenced this man to die. I'm going to tell you several things, and it'll be very hard to hear, but you got to hear it. Number one, he was looking for a girl. Number one, he looked at a Wise County family with 2 daughters. He looked at maybe doing one of them, raping one of them, killing one of them, maybe both of them. He also was hunting and looking, and he looked for, and he saw Athena. He decided to get Athena. He had driven, according to the prosecution, he was very familiar describing what Athena in the back of that FedEx van was about to go through. As far as, you're going to go through a bumpy road, the road's bumpy here, hang on. And what the prosecution said, and I believe wholeheartedly, is that this man who raped that little beautiful girl before he killed her, with multiple attempts to kill her, choking her, strangulating her, punching her, hitting her, and then eventually to murder her, a third attempt by stomping on a 7-year-old girl who's 76 pounds face, and the bottom of his shoe print was on her face. He left her naked body in a part of the Trinity River, I believe. And listen, since he was familiar with that road, I truly believe this. Listen to me closely. I want you to understand the depths of depravity. Very important to not polish things up or hide things. I believe that he drove that route many times, fantasizing about what he would do in that place. And I believe that man, that sick bastard, excuse me, but he pleasured himself at that spot. These sick people get tantalized. They think of it and get tantalized. He kept her clothes, some of her clothes. They couldn't find certain things. I believe the underwear, if I'm not mistaken, the shirt or something of that nature. He kept those things to continue to fantasize about what he did. We also had a man who came forward who said, I am Tanner Horner's cousin. When I was 10 and he was 13, he raped me. 3 years later, when I was 13 or 14, the man now said he raped me again. We had 2 16-year-old girls at the time who are now in their 20s or so say that he raped them as well. We have 3 people at least who said he raped them, including a boy, a child at the time. This is a sick, depraved man. He claims he found God, which you're going to hear the uncle say in a minute. No problem. Because as you'll hear the uncle say, you are going to meet your maker. And you will be judged by the God you claim to be worshiping and following. And he also quoted scripture, which you'll hear in a moment, about it. If you are to cause any of these little ones to stumble, the ones that Jesus said, let the little ones come to me. For such is the kingdom of God, something of that nature. These are the ones who are going to inherit the kingdom of God, these beautiful little children. That it is better to have a millstone tied around your neck and be thrown into the ocean than to go through what you're going to go through. You now will die. You pleaded guilty on the first day to aggravated kidnapping and death because you knew you were going to die if we found everything out. You lied and you made up a fake personality called Zero. You don't have multiple personality disorder. You try to use autism as an excuse, but yet 3 is the highest level of autism. 1 is the lowest. You are a 1. Used not fetal alcohol syndrome, but something similar as an excuse. There are no excuses. And by the way, you being molested as a child, or raped, and whatever it is, does not excuse you. There are people that go through that hell and come up to be pastors in marriages, and they minister to people, or they come up to be counselors to minister the very type of people that go through the same trauma. My mom went through trauma like this when she was a child, and my mom grew up and wanted to be a counselor and a nurse, and she helped people. You know, every person's a child of God. And the defense today in the closing arguments of the death penalty, and the jury had only 2 hours and 15 minutes, and they said, put him to death. Put him to death. Every person's a child of God, but the defense today tried to argue in its closing case to not get the death penalty. They tried to argue that he needs to show him mercy. Show him mercy. Mercy is giving people what they don't deserve. It's what God does for us. And they try to use the God angle to have the jury say, and I'll share the thing, it's unbelievably offensive to me. The defense said, hold on. Choose life, she asked the jury. It's probably going to be one of the most important decisions you ever make in your life because you hold a man's life in your hands, and your decision will define who you are. This is a label and a guilt trip. It will define who you are. Are you going to be merciful? Are you going to be benevolent? Are you going to be vengeful? Because mercy isn't earned, mercy is freely given. That's why we call it mercy, trying to play the God angle. Let me tell you something. You may get mercy. What the healthy thing to do for the Athena Strand family eventually is to forgive this man. But forgiveness, make no mistake, I'm quoting my wonderful, sweet friend June Hunt, who's like my aunt to me, my great aunt. And forgiveness is taking somebody off of your hook, taking him off of your hook and putting him on God's hook. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It doesn't mean justice is awaiting. And justice is awaiting, and the proper justice is to put this man in the ground. Thank you, God, that you're putting this man into the ground. Let's go to the uncle. Again, we're going to talk to the best crime reporter in all of DFW in just about 5 minutes or less. Rebecca Lopez, WFAA TV Channel 8, senior crime and justice reporter, the best crime reporter in DFW, who was at the trial for, I believe, the entire time. It's going to be incredible to hear what we're going to learn from her. Here's the uncle.
Jacob's brother, Athena's uncle. There are no words that truly capture the devastation that Tanner Horner caused us and our family. What he took from this world was not just a child. He took a light, a future, and a piece of every single person who loved him. He took a granddaughter, a daughter, a niece, a cousin, and a friend. She would call me Uncle Elijah because she, for the longest time, couldn't say the Elijah part of my name. It was the best thing to see her running up to me with her arms open, yelling, Uncle Elijah. And that's one of my last memories I have of her. And now I get to never hear that again. Athena was more than a headline. She was laughter, curiosity, kindness, and innocence. And she had dreams that she will never get to chase. Birthdays that she will never celebrate. And a life she'll never get to live because of his actions. Our family has been left with an emptiness that can never be filled. I have 3 daughters, 2 that got to meet her and grow with her, and 1 that'll never meet. And he took that away from them as well, a cousin and a friend. He stole a sense of safety from all of us in our family. Me and my wife just got comfortable enough to let our kids play outside, and that's even in our backyard. It's not close to the road. He's robbed us of safety, peace, and our trust in the world, and forever changed who we are as a family. And we are left to carry grief that never fades. We are left with questions that will still never have answers. And we are left trying to honor a beautiful little girl whose life was taken in the most senseless and horrific way. Tanner Horner, I want you to hear this directly. You did not just take a life, you destroyed a family. You took a little girl who trusted the world and repaid that innocence with violence. You chose to cause pain that will last generations. You say you found God, but what you did to Athena stands in direct opposition to everything that you now claim to believe. In Matthew 18:6 it says, if anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better for them to have a millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned. That is how seriously harm against the child is judged. And you will be judged. You will face the wrath of God. But I want you to know that you are nothing. You are
Sorry about that. There we go. My microphone. I got to keep my microphone. I was already forgot to put it back on. I'm emotional. This is the pajamas and bow that little Athena Strand would wear. And this picture was taken 4 days before this sick man did what he did to her. This is him doing cleaning up in the car, a screen grab of a picture of him cleaning up the car after he violated her and murdered her in horrific ways. This is her in the back of the car before he did these horrific things to her. He was singing after he did this, or around the same time, rock and roll Christmas, or rock, I can't remember the Christmas song, but he was singing it. And rocking around the Christmas tree, as if everything was absolutely fine. Well, it was not. Today was a day of joy for me, and now I want to join us with Rebecca Lopez, a WFA TV Channel 8 Senior Crime and Justice Reporter. Rebecca, first of all, thank you for coming on. You are the best crime reporter in DFW and have been for decades. I want to appreciate you for doing this, and thank you, first of all, for coming on. But you literally, correct me if I'm wrong, you were at pretty much every day of this hearing. Is that accurate?
Yes, I only missed one day because I was sent to cover tornadoes overnight. So I got one day off, but I was there the entire time of the trial.
So what was it like this morning? What were you guys expecting from everything in the trial? And what was it like this morning when it was announced that he received the death penalty?
I actually thought that the jury was going to come back even quicker because having listened to all the testimony, I thought there is no way that a jury will not give this man the death penalty. I thought one of the most poignant moments of the trial was when, in closing arguments, was when the prosecutor put Athena's picture up on the stand and said, "This is why we're here, jury. Remember, this is why we're here. We're here for Athena." But then right after that, the defense attorneys, when they got up to do their closing arguments, took her picture down. I've never seen a defense attorney do that. And I think that
Whoa.
that did not play well with the jury because you saw them visibly react to the fact that they took her picture down and they put some prop up there. I mean, they could have gotten another easel or they could have held up the signs. I just felt like the defense never quite got, I think they were kind of tone deaf to this jury and to what was how the people really felt about this case. And I think that they had a lot of missteps in this trial.
That's unbelievable that they took that down, erasing her memory in front of their eyes, when all we have done is, obviously if you're in that courtroom, is obsessively study this case inside and out. That's unbelievable. Tell me what it was like. And there's so many questions I want to get into. I'm so grateful that you were there at every day except for one, because you're going to know all the intimate details of everything and all the emotions and everything that you saw. What would the worst moment I think of emotion is when the jury heard, the judge said, if you can't handle this right now, we're about to play the audio and video from inside. Now I know he covered up the camera, but the audio and video from inside of that FedEx truck when he beat her, tried to kill her, and also when he sexually assaulted her. And if you can't, deal with that, he said, go now. And he was not trying to be rude. He was being firm because it's very serious stuff. I know the family got out of the room. I don't know if you noticed anybody else that got out of the room. And then number two, tell me what that was like. I cannot imagine any dry eyes in that house, in that room at the time. Tell me what was that about? What was it like?
So, the family, the mom and the dad, and a couple of the family members left. There was one of her sisters that was in the courtroom, and she stayed for as long as maybe 5 minutes. As soon as Athena is hoisted up into the truck by Tanner Horner, and he starts talking to her, and she hears Athena. The rest of the family got up and left, but the rest of us, it's our job to
Yes.
bring to you, what we see in the courtroom. And so I have been a crime reporter now for more than almost 40 years. I have never heard such a horrific tape or evidence in a courtroom in my entire life. And I have covered a lot of horrendous things in my career. I cannot even describe how awful it was. Because initially, Tanner Horner had this whole thing about, he ran over Athena and he was trying to cover that up. And the cocaine thing came up later, that he was snorting cocaine. He was afraid she saw him. So anyway, he had all these excuses, but it is clear you see where he grabs the Barbies, a bag of Barbies, and he goes and he takes it over to deliver it. And then a little bit later, you see Athena following him, and she's following him, and they get to the back of the truck, and he's got a flashlight, and he's looking into the back of the van. And then you can't really hear what he's telling her, but he must be telling her something, because he hoists her up into the van, and then he's chit-chatting with her. You hear him, then you see him go around, and then that's when he covers the camera. And then you hear him talking to her. And he's talking to her about school and, how old are you? And she's just talking. And then she says, where are you taking me? He's like, oh, we're just going to go hang out. And then she keeps saying, well, I don't know where you're taking me. Where are we going? And then he starts asking her about her teacher. So he's grooming her at this point.
Yes.
He's making her feel comfortable. And then that's when you hear him stop the truck, get out, and then he says, take your shirt off. And she's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? My mommy says you can't do that. My mommy says you can't do that to me, and you can't do that and I can't do that to you. And she starts crying for her mommy. She's like, I want my mommy. And
how long on the way, because this wasn't the final stop where horrific things happen, I believe.
Right.
Did he stop like 5 minutes after he got out of the immediate area, or?
Yeah, I want to say it was probably about 10 minutes after he's had the initial conversation. He hoists her up, and so they're driving and he's talking. She's like, well, where are you taking me? And then when he when he finally stops and he tells her to take off her shirt, she starts crying.
Yes.
And then she's like, no, you're not supposed to do that. She's like, no. And then you can't really hear what he is saying to her.
She said something like, my mom says you can't do this to me.
Yes,
right?
She does. She says, my mommy says you can't do this to me, and I can't do this to somebody else. And then she asks him at least 3 times, are you a kidnapper? Are you my kidnapper?
Oh.
Are you a kidnapper? She's asking him this several times. And then that's when you begin to hear him choke her. And it is horrific because she is crying in pain. And then he gets back in the truck because you think she's dead. I mean, I'm thinking it's maybe several minutes. I mean, maybe 10 minutes that he does this.
You're talking up to 10 minutes of choking her, trying to kill her.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then he gets in the vehicle and then he starts driving.
10 minutes. This is after 10 minutes. He stops somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. And then he gets back in the truck and he starts driving. again. And you think, oh my gosh, she's probably dead at this point. And
Right.
then she starts screaming
Oh my
again,
gosh.
pain. And
Oh
you're
Lord.
like, and it just takes everybody's breath away. And then he gets back he stops and he gets back there. And then you hear this like bam, bam, bam. But honestly, I thought he was taking her body and slamming her against
Yeah.
the bottom of the van. But that's when he's actually stomping on her and telling her some more. And you hear bam, bam. It's so loud. And then he,
This is
you
where
think, okay,
his shoe print would be imprinted on her face at this time.
possibly because he actually does this several
Oh my
times.
gosh. Okay.
So then he gets back in the car in the van, and then you hear more like driving, and then you think she's dead
Yeah.
again, and then you hear her cry out again,
Oh Lord.
and you're like, "What?" And then he gets out, and it happens several times, and then the worst part, I mean, it's all horrible, but then
Yeah.
Jingle Bell Rock comes on. And he is singing. He's singing Jingle Bell, Jingle, like it's like nothing's going on. And in
Right.
the middle of that, she's just screaming louder than she's ever screamed at. And she fought so
Oh
hard for
Lord.
her life, this little
Is
girl. And
is that picture we saw? We've all seen the still frame of her in the back of the truck with her hands up against, bracing herself, and he's right behind her, although the shirt's on, I believe. And he seems like he's whistling or singing. What was he doing in that point? Was that earlier?
yeah, that's early.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
right before he the camera before he takes
Okay.
off.
Okay.
He's singing Jingle Bell Rock, and then she starts screaming, and it's so eerie because he's singing this Christmas carol, and it
Yes.
continues to play, and then he starts screaming, "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Or you're going to get hurt worse than you already are. Shut up!" And she's still crying and fighting for her life. And he stops again, and then you hear more of the slamming and the beating and
Oh
the
my Lord.
choking. And then
My
again, you
Lord.
think she's dead. He
And by
gets
the way,
in, drive.
Rebecca, he is 250 pounds. He's a grown
Yes,
man. She is 67 pounds. Correct me if I'm wrong, or 76 pounds, something like that.
yes,
And she's 7 years old.
yes, little bitty girl, and he's a big guy because he's lost weight since this happened, by the way. And so,
Okay.
but the Tanner Horner you see in there is not the same Tanner
Right.
Horner that you saw as
Okay.
far as physically. And then you think, oh my gosh, there can't be any more of this poor little girl. And she starts crying again,
Oh
and he's
Lord.
like, it, shut up. And he's screaming like at this child. And he's like, you don't know when to stop. And he gets out of and then that's the last you'd finally hear, I think we are hearing her last breaths because you hear some like wheezing and gasping. And
Oh
then
Lord.
you hear the dragging, and then you hear a lot of noise for a long time. And then I mean, like, this is when he's, dumping the body and, doing all kinds of things. And then
Is that where you
um,
believe the sexual assault happened based on everything you
no,
know?
I believe the sexual assault happened early on when he says, take off your shirt, because when he tells her to take off her shirt, she's like, you can't do this to me.
Oh Lord.
There's a point where he claims that he was trying to give her a pill because she's gagging, but that clearly is not what was happening. He was
Right.
telling her to do some things to
Right.
him. And
Right.
we know now that there was semen on her.
Yes.
And so we know that he gratified himself or something
Yes.
happened. And so all of that happened, before he chokes her,
Okay.
and then the choking happens. But it is like 45 minutes into the tape when the Jingle Bell Rock and all of that is happening.
My Lord.
It's at least 45 minutes or longer into the time that we know that he covers the camera.
So he is
And then,
horrifyingly suffering. She is horrifyingly suffering for like an hour.
yes, and fighting to breathe, fighting to stay alive. And, just all I can say, she was a little warrior.
Yes. Yes.
And he just could have cared less about this little girl, because what we next see when we finally see him again, he takes the sticky note, it's a sticky pad, and he takes
Yeah.
that off the camera, and he's smoking a cigarette and dialing his mom and talking to his
Wow.
Cassie, and like, oh, like there's nothing going on. And then he has the gall to talk to his boss, and he's telling his boss, oh, I'm going to need this truck again tomorrow because I don't think anybody else wants to drive because I threw up back there because I ate a
Right.
bad hamburger.
Right.
And then he's telling his mom this, and everybody's like, "Oh, I hope you feel better." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm hoping I'm feeling a little bit better." And it's just horrifying because you
Yes.
know that it's Athena's, what happened to her, and he's making it all about himself and making people try to feel sorry for him because he threw up. I mean, it was just the most evil thing I have
Yes.
ever covered in my career.
Yes. And you've seen, I mean, as a crime reporter for 40 years in DFW, there is no lack of horrific crimes that have happened here over the years. Um, basically, she was dead. The assault happened early. She was dead by the time he pulled a car up to where he would dispose of her body. I think
Yeah.
dumping it in the Trinity River or something.
Yeah, he dumped it off a bridge. He dumped her off a bridge.
My lord. And so
It
she
was
was
it was
wheezing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, it was no, it was I remember, looking at the jury during that time, and the
Yes.
jury was they were sobbing. I'm not talking there were a couple of jurors that were literally, like, they were sobbing,
Oh Lord.
and so were all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
we had an attorney, an expert with me. We had her listen in with us, and she was holding my hand. And as soon as the tape finished playing, she wrote, "He's going to die for this." And she's a
Amen.
defense attorney because she knew.
Yeah.
She knew there was no way. I don't care if you put up 1,000 witnesses up there on his behalf, and experts. There was the jury could not unhear and what he did to this child. And after that, really, it was over at that point. The defense, obviously, they put on a defense for him because they have to, otherwise it could get overturned on appeal for lack
Right.
of, proper representation. But still, it was over for them at that point.
Um. The so the there were some of the clothes were missing. Did he kept what a shirt, and did he?
We don't know what happened to the shirt because that she always wore that shirt, and it was special to her,
Oh,
and that's what her mom said. Now, her mom, when she was testifying and looked at Tanner Horn, she goes, "All I want you to do is tell me where my daughter's shirt is." We know that they found her socks and her underwear and her jeans thrown in the backyard of this, like,
yeah,
you look like you
shed.
live somewhere. Yeah, the back of the shed, and this is like a bunch of trash, and this like really trashy home, and
Yeah,
that's where they find that's it. But they never found her shirt, and he never tells the mom where the shirt is. Like, he never said, "I'm sorry." He never said, "Okay, this is where you can find the shirt." We have no idea what happened to the shirt, and that's all she wanted from him, and he could not even give her that.
they did the rape kit, and it was interesting. You're a crime reporter, so you will really know this because the Texas, some of them were former workers for the Texas State Crime Lab, but they said that we never rule in a suspect for sexual assault in this case with DNA. We only rule out, and we cannot rule out Tanner Horner. His semen was found, I believe, on the rape kit, meaning I believe on her, but also on his clothes that were in the vehicle the other day. He was wearing it, his hoodie. Tell me what we know about that, and is that really how it is? They can never rule somebody in, but only rule you out. And if so, what are the rule out statistics on that for cases like this?
Well, I mean, the statistics were pretty high. I can't remember what they said, but it's usually like in
Huge.
the billions or trillion, like, 1 in a trillion chances that it's not this person. So,
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, it was definitely his
What? Why didn't?
DNA.
Why didn't they charge him with? I was when this happened at the beginning. I was saying it not to. I wanted to say it because I want to expose as much of this horrible evil and such as possible. And I said I will be shocked if he didn't sexually assault that little girl. How do you kidnap a little girl and then just kill her? It's possible, but how? And I hated it, but I said I don't want it to be happen, but I will be shocked if it doesn't happen. And what's crazy is they didn't charge for it, and it didn't come up until the trial, and it seemingly didn't come up till maybe midway or three-fourths of the trial. What was going on with all that, Rebecca?
Yeah, that's one of the questions that I definitely would ask the prosecutor. I feel like they just thought they had a strong enough case against him already, and they didn't add that to the charge. They did say that his DNA was found in her. But he did not like actually. Well, there was no. I don't even know how to discuss it. There was no penetration, but
Okay.
he did something. You
Something that,
know,
yeah, right.
he had her do something to him.
Yes. Okay.
And so, yeah, I would like to ask, the prosecutors, because they could have added that, but in Texas, you can get the death penalty for you commit another violent act or another felony in the commission of the murder, which in this case would have been kidnapping, and then also a child under, I believe it's 7 in Texas,
Yes.
that you can get the death penalty. So he qualified for the death penalty already twice in this
You've seen
case.
this in your coverage for years. Sometimes they slim it down so as not to make things more complicated, because they
Yeah.
got these two things that are death penalty qualifiers, and therefore, well, let's not muddy the waters. That might be why, maybe you're thinking.
I think it's probably just as simple as that. They probably were going to stick to what the evidence, the hard evidence that they had, which
Yeah.
was the video, because once you see that, and then, no one, by the way, when we were all watching the video of him doing the interview with the Texas Ranger
Yeah.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and he starts into this whole bizarre zero thing, no one was buying that. I
Right. This
mean,
this alternate
no,
personality.
the jury wasn't buying it. No one was buying it. Everybody was rolling their eyes.
Right.
And I kept saying, surely, this, he's just making this up.
Right.
There's no zero because, and I kept saying, well, it was Tanner Horner who pled guilty to murder, not Zero, his alternate
Right.
ego committed the murder.
Right.
So, and then it was interesting that the defense kind of, brought in their own experts that said, oh yeah, he was lying about that. That's just his coping mechanism. But it was very calculating to me. And you know what? One thing that's very interesting is that
Yes.
Cassie, his fiance, never took the stand.
Ah.
She's the one that she is the person that can tell us what he was thinking, what was happening.
Wow.
So the defense not call her if
Right.
they're saying, well, he was spiraling and all of this stuff is happening, and she's the one person that can tell you that, but they don't call her to the
You're
stand because
you.
Cassie
Mhm.
was not going to be say anything favorable to Tanner Horner.
She wasn't. So you think that she wasn't going to do anything good for the defense because maybe there's some
Right.
bad blood there? I'm thinking
Yeah.
of something else. The depths of wickedness with another case, the Elizabeth Smart case. As you probably know, she was
Mhm.
on ABC News the other day, and she was assaulted daily multiple times. And the guys, the sick man who did that, his wife was part of this and was. I read this in the story that was in ABC News yesterday. Encouraged it daily. So I mean. I don't know, but there's no telling what the fiance may or may not have known or done. But that's interesting. They didn't call her. That's a very interesting point. And then a surprise witness. Couple things. Now we have two 16-year-old girls at the time who said that he sexually assaulted her. They were allowed to be to testify, I believe, right? Even though no one's been convicted on anything. There's these weird rules where sometimes people that are be perfect that we want to testify, and like the Amber Geiger trial, that the Texas Ranger who said she didn't do anything wrong, it's a mistake of fact, she's innocent, wasn't allowed to say that in there. It was unthinkable to me. In this case, they allowed two young women who were 16 saying he sexually raped them, and then also a surprise witness of a man who said when he was a boy was raped by him. That came up in the defense of the death penalty phase. Tell me about those three things and how they were allowed in and what impact you think that had.
So the reason I believe that the two teenage girls were allowed to testify is because he did get indicted for those.
Oh.
And typically you have extraneous, they call them extraneous crimes, where it means you haven't been convicted or you haven't been charged in those crimes. But in this case, he was charged. He was indicted and is awaiting trial on those two rape. So they were allowed, the judge did allow that in. Now, the cousin, Billy, if you recall, there was, I don't know, we were live streaming a lot of this. There was a point in the trial where they had a secret sealed hearing that we weren't allowed to hear.
Yes.
But at this point, we knew that there was a Facebook post out there that had been going on that had gone out to the public about this cousin claiming that he had done this. Well, the judge held a hearing on that, and it was sealed because it deals with somebody that was a minor when they were being sexually abused. And so a judge can closed the courtroom and he kicked everyone out of the courtroom. And that is
Wow.
allowed in Texas on limited basis to not allow the court to be open. And so they
Wow.
held this. Initially, Billy was not going to be allowed to testify. But what happened was when the defense attorneys own witnesses got up there. And if you recall, Dr. Ryan, who was extremely unpopular, the jury was rolling their eyes through some
Is
of her
that
testimony.
this is that guy
The
that
one
was
that said,
saying it
no, it's
seemed
a
like
woman.
oh, that's all right.
It,
But she kept giving excuses. I believe him. I believe the cocaine thing. All this, it's fantastical BS. She made me, when I was reading her testimony, I was like, oh, please. She made me want to almost, throw up in my mouth. I was like, she's buying all this crap,
yeah, and there were a lot of things that they said, and you could see the jury was just not into that. They were at times laughing at her when she was testifying. I think they were like kind of giggling, and not. I mean, these experts, we don't. Some of them have gotten death threats, so we don't want to,
Right, right.
more harm for them. But I will say that she opened the door for the prosecution to be able to bring Billy in because she said
Wow.
Tanner has never done this before. He's never committed other sexual crimes. This is a one-off. This is not who he is. This isn't so
Oh,
he testified like that. That blows the door open. And so
yes.
in the rebuttal case, now they couldn't bring it in when the prosecution was having its case. But when the defense opened the door during
Wow.
rebuttal, you can use extraneous
Wow.
crimes, for the prosecution, and so that's what happened. She opened the door, so they allowed Billy to testify.
So
The judge.
the incompetence, or um at least the doctor, the female doctor, Dr. Ryan, who was brought in as a defense witness, whether it's incompetency or not, but her saying how she believed him, he didn't do this for, is what opened the door. It's absolutely, to me, it's just a divine thing right there. Thank you for letting that door come open. Now we can have this boy who is now a man, right? What is he, in his 20s?
Yeah, I think he's a little older than that, but I'll tell you, he came off as very believable because
That's yeah.
that is really difficult for somebody to get on as a stand in front of a jury, in
Yes.
front of a full courtroom, and tell them that you were sexually assaulted. That is a very difficult thing for someone to
Especially
do.
male on male. I mean, it's
Yeah, and he came in, and he seemed just, and the details that he was giving, and when he was giving his testimony, Tanner Horner didn't show a whole lot of anything emotion
yeah.
throughout this trial. But the moment that Billy started describing, he was frowning, he was looking down, he was jotting things down and sending them over to the defense attorneys, his little notes or whatever he was telling the defense attorneys. But yeah, he was very bothered by Billy's testimony. And the other time that I saw him where he looked angry or a little upset was when the prosecutor put the boots on and showed him to
Yes.
the jury. That got a reaction out of Tanner Horner, and then he did show a little bit of reaction and looked a little teary eyed when his grandma came out to testify. But neither the mom or the grandmother did him any favors because if you recall, mom testifies, "Oh, we had to go and get Tanner's child from him because we thought he might hurt him."
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah. I
that
didn't catch that part.
yeah, future danger. And then the grandmother is apologizing to the family and starts crying and starts saying these things about Tanner that also, uh, you know, surprised the jury, I think, and surprised all of us because I think that they honestly did more harm than good as character witnesses for him.
Interesting.
And the other thing that I've never seen a defense do, I've never seen a defense attorney call a convicted felon as a character witness for somebody. I've
Yeah,
never
the
seen
guy
it.
in the jail.
Yeah, Chicken. He called him Chicken. That was his
Wow.
nickname. I've
Wow.
never seen that happen before. I've seen them where they've come in and they said, "Oh yeah, he was talking about the crime or things like that." But I've never seen them bring in a guy who's got a lengthy criminal history of choking a woman, domestic violence, and brought him in as a character witness for Tanner Horner. That was really shocking to me also.
Were these public defenders?
Yes, they did. So there is I think it's 100,000 or less in counties or cities that have a population of 100,000 or less. There is sort of like this fund that they all pay into in case you do have a capital murder
Okay.
case,
Okay.
and it pays for the attorneys. It pays for the attorneys and the investigators, but what it does not pay for are the expert witnesses and all the
Oh,
testing. In this case, probably reached well over 500,000, and that is paid for by the taxpayers of Wise County.
wow.
They foot the
Wait,
bill for
the expert
all of it
witnesses, the expert witnesses were paid for by Wise County, $500,000.
or more.
Oh my
Yeah,
Lord.
those records are sealed right now, but once the trial is over, we can get what the judge signed off on for them, because if they ask for it, typically the judges will grant the defense the ability to do all this testing and bring in the witnesses, because the judge has to be impartial and allow him to have some sort of
Yes.
defense.
A jury
Yeah.
of 12 were there, right? Watch for the case, and only 10. I did not know this. Only 10 need death to make death. Uh,
No, actually, it has to be unanimous
I thought
for,
so.
but it's only 10. They still had to have 10 if they were going to rule the other way. So if they had answered, um, like it couldn't be 11, it would have to be 10 that answered, no, we don't think he poses a future threat,
Okay, so
or
so
it's the opposite. But you do have to have a unanimous verdict for the two questions that they answered to give him the death penalty.
so if you don't, and we'll go over those questions in a sec. But if you don't have 12, you can't get death. But if you don't have at least 10, you can't get life. Is that accurate? So it'd be
Correct.
bouncing back and forth and saying, "Well, I tell jury, go back, figure this out."
Mhm.
That's fascinating. Have you ever seen? Now you said 2 hours and 50 minutes is I think what the report said. 3 hours of deliberations. You were surprised it took that long, because I think we all know this. He was glaringly, obviously, the right candidate for the death penalty. And why do you think it took so long? Were they just being meticulous? Did you see any seemingly disagreements on that, or was it just you think they wanted to be extra thorough?
I think they just wanted to be thorough, and they did ask for the letter that because I think the defense during closing argument said you should read the letter that Chicken wrote about Tanner Horner.
Oh
So
gosh.
they did ask for that letter, and then they asked for a couple of more videotapes, and I think that they were just being very thorough.
Thorough.
But I've seen juries come back in some death penalty cases in 15, 20, 30 minutes. And as long
Wow.
they answer the questions and boom, they're out. I mean, and then I've also seen some, which like Billy Shamirmir, the serial
Yes.
killer,
Yes.
that juror actually got hung the first time. There was one juror that just could not get past the fact that there was no DNA and physical evidence, but they've got him stalking the crime victims,
Yes.
stealing their jewelry that he stole from them, and they had all of this stuff. And he probably killed more than 20 women.
Yes.
And there's one juror hung that jury in the guilt innocence phase, and they had to retry him again,
You know,
which they eventually.
to me, that's like it's just a Dallas County jury, and I'm not trying to attack Dallas County per se, but it's a Dallas County jury, which is a much, I guess I'll just say the jury pool's a much more liberal stronghold jury. You're going to get a lot more people. To me, that is more minorities that tend to be more forgiving sometimes in situations. I feel because of the way the justice system is. For example, like with the OJ case, going back to the OJ case, where people felt, a lot of people thought he was in. Well, I don't think anybody thought he was innocent, but they wanted to spare him, if you will. I was angered. I was angered that with the Billy Chimimir case, as you said, he's a guy that's originally from Africa. I think it was Chad or somewhere, Nigeria or something. And I was very angry that he didn't get death because, as you know, and I know, there was over 24 people that he killed. They only convicted him on a few, I think, just to make it easier and slim it down, perhaps. But I was angry because the DA, Crusoe, made up these excuses. Oh, it's COVID. I have to travel to Africa. I can't go there. You don't need to go to Africa for a case to get evidence for a death. But it happened here, right? That's my thing. Number two, oh, he's behaving in jails, what he said. That doesn't mean anything because he's in Dallas County Jail behaving. That doesn't mean anything to me. Am I accurate on the excuses that were made as far as none of them were death penalty excuse type
Well,
levels when you get
and
through it?
I also think that sometimes there is this philosophy that maybe the life in prison without parole is a better place to, for people, that they suffer more than they do while they're on death row, I guess, is that, that's kind of one of the philosophies. But at the end of the day, Billy Shamir ended up getting killed in prison.
I remember
So
that.
when they
Yeah.
put population, he ended up getting
Do you think
stabbed.
it?
So,
Do you think it was like the Dahmer case, Jeffrey Dahmer case, where eventually the prison folks just took him down because of the heinous,
oh,
because of what?
sure.
Okay, so you believe now? This is. Let me ask you this too. This is explore just a little bit on that. We'll go right back to the Athena Strand case, but so the whole prison justice thing. I've been told there's certain things, whether it be child molestation might be one. In this case, Dahmer, the heinousness, the vile heinousness of what he did. Billy Chamirmir, because they're sweet little ladies, maybe, and he was like prolifically killing them. I don't know, but is that pretty true from what you've seen in your 40 years of crime reporting, that the quote unquote prison justice, whether you agree or not, it's not the point, but that happens with certain types of cases?
Oh, yes, I do think that. But I also, in Billy Shamir's case, I believe that there was this allegation that he was making comments about wanting to sexually assault one of the guy's
Okay.
daughters or something like that. So I
Oh,
guess he made some comments, but they did know that he was a serial killer, obviously. But then
yeah.
I guess he made some sort of comments, and then so somebody killed him.
To me, that my explanation would be that's God's justice, I'm glad that he got what he should have gotten to begin with, in my opinion. But going back to the case here, a few more things on Athena Strand's case. The prosecution's witness was fantastic. Dr. Michael Arambula said that Tanner Horner, this was critical to me, is a sexual deviant and a sadist. And I literally looked up the word sadist because we use these words sometimes, but what does it mean? And one who derives sexual pleasure over hurting people, such like that, and enjoys hurting people. And that to me sounds accurate based on everything I read with and saw in this trial, that's what he was. Do you agree that psychiatrist seemed to nail it?
Well, that's definitely what he testified to, because he had interviewed people around Tanner Horner, including the fiance, who said that,
Mm,
he had this role playing that was very bizarre, where he would pretend they were, the father-daughter kind of thing, I guess, in role playing. And that's probably one of the reasons why they didn't call Cassie, because I think that would have opened the door to all of this other things that, she had witnessed from Tanner Horner,
that's the
and some of the things.
fiance. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, according to the defense, all of this was consensual, but was it? Either that, we don't know, because she didn't testify, but it would have been really interesting to hear from her. But neither the defense or the prosecution called her.
Rebecca, a couple last questions. One of these is, I believe, from what I picked up from the testimony in the court, that he was looking for a girl to target for days, maybe weeks. I believe that, and we all need to know these things about protecting our children. And that's the thing too. I don't want parents to freak out and say, don't let your kids out anywhere. It's a tough call, like how to deal with that. I know that Athena's uncle in his testimony today said that, but I believe he targeted. There were twins. I think he was checking out those. There's twins in Wise County in the same area that he was checking out that were young little girl twins. And I believe he covered up his camera when he on some of these things where he was scoping out. And I believe this man, being a sadist, was sexually tantalized by seeing who might be his victim. And I believe that it was a matter of which one he decided to pick before he did it. That he was looking and hunting and picked. Is that what you think too?
Yeah, that's what the prosecution definitely, because he did it. Not only he did it two other times before, but this happened with Athena, because they were able to go back and pull the FedEx videos, and so he covers it up, but he covered it up an hour and a half before he
Wow.
approaches Athena's home, and the two little girls. So it's covered up for a while. And so then when he approaches the two girls, I mean, the prosecution says there, but for the grace of God, those two little girls were not
Yes.
his victims, because the parents came out. And,
That's
our
why.
legal Yeah, the
So
parents
so
came out. The mom comes out, and the
so it
dad.
could have been one of those or both of those girls. It could have been.
Yeah, absolutely, it could have
Oh my
been.
gosh.
And one of the things that our expert witnesses, look, I believe that had they not caught him, he
Yes.
would have done it again. I think that he was a serial killer in the making,
Wow.
because I do think that it would have happened again to another child.
Oh my lord. Um, how long till he gets death?
Well, he gets appeals, and sometimes that takes years, because it's got to go through the whole appellate process, and he's got to get a new appellate lawyers that are specifically experts on appellate law, and then the prosecutor, he's not going to be the
Right.
DA. State and Wise County will not be the same. Prosecutor that's going to carry this case all the way through, because they'll hire and contract that out to an appellate attorney that can
Okay.
also represent the state and Athena. And
Wow.
so, but it's going to be, it could be 5, 10, 15 years. Now, if he says, you know what, I don't want any more appeals, I
Right.
don't want to be on death row anymore, it could expedite it. But
Do you think he fears death? I think one of the biggest things I get really mad when like terrorists, for example, they try to strike a plea and then because I think they're terrified of death. Now he's not a terrorist, if you will. Obviously, he's a sick puppy. But do you think he fears death based on what you witnessed in that trial?
it's hard to tell. I mean, he had those two suicide attempts, but I don't know if they, it's hard to tell, honestly.
Right.
I'm not
Okay.
sure, how he feels about that.
And I think the last thing I have is just that that spot that he picked, the prosecution said that the spot he picked to dispose of her body, that he described to Athena as we were going. Now this is going to be bumpy and this and that, so he knew this path intimately. And
Hmm.
I believe from what they were saying in there that he had gone to that spot many times before, at least in the run up to this, tantalized being a sick sadist, and went there and enjoyed his time there to spare the whatever. I believe he went there several times. I think this is a long thing that we talk about. He's hunting. He's looking for prey. He's covering up the camera before this and that. Do you believe he went to that site multiple times prior to because there's a sick fetish or whatever you want to call it with that?
Yeah, I definitely think that he knew where he was going, and exactly that he probably had scouted those. But I also, one of the things that was very frustrating, and they brought this up early on in the trial, but I never heard it back in closing arguments, is when the defense keeps saying, "Oh, Tanner Horner just reacted because he was fearful that she'd seen him snorting cocaine or whatever, and he was going to lose his job," but when he gets brought in for questioning, and they're interviewing him, and they're saying, where is Athena's body, he leads those detectives on a wild goose chase for hours, for like a day or so, and he's got him like going to this bamboo field multiple times, looking through it, because he said, oh, this is why I put the body this way, knowing very well that he had driven and dumped her body off the Trinity River, off a bridge into the Trinity River. But he led them. He was covering, lying the whole time. And so I think the prosecution did a really good job in convincing the jury. This guy is a liar. You can't believe what he says. He's
Right.
conniving. He plans, he executes, and he had a way to try to cover his tracks to save himself.
Two last things. Have the jurors talked, and do you anticipate they will? Is it hard to tell where we're at on that?
Well, the jury was brought in. They were, I think, bussed in every day. And so we did ask the judge if we could speak to the jury, and I guess they declined. But the prosecutors did get a chance to talk to the jury and question them. Although when we interviewed the DA at the end, he didn't want to really reveal what the jury said, but he said that they were extremely affected by this case, that they were
Yeah.
very emotional about Athena and what they heard and what they learned in this case, and that they were greatly impacted, like everybody else in that courtroom that had to hear that audio.
Last thing, Rebecca, and I thank you so much for your time being DFW's best crime reporter that we have, and I really mean that. The death penalty, two questions. We talked about this a little earlier, but the first question is whether Horner is a continuing threat to society. If the jurors unanimously answer yes to that, then they will consider the second question, which is whether there are mitigating circumstances that would reduce his moral blameworthiness. If the answer no to the second question, he gets death. If at least 10 jurors find that he is not a future danger, then there's mitigating. That's the 10 you have to not get the death penalty
Right.
in this kind of a case. Any final thoughts on that and final thoughts on the case?
No, I just pray every night for
Yes.
Athena's family, and I hope that this gives them some peace. Even though I know that it's difficult because you never get closure, really, because you never get to have your daughter again. And one of the things that I thought was so galling in this trial was Tanner Horner complaining that he wasn't going to get out for Christmas to see his
Yes.
son.
Yes.
Athena, while delivering Athena's kidnapping and murdering this child while delivering her Christmas presents, and she's never going to have a Christmas with her family. And then the other thing is when the defense put up his graduation photos and his diploma, trying to say, well, look at what Tanner Horner, we're so proud of him. He graduated, the first one in our family to graduate from high school. But I thought that was also something that the jury looked at and said, but Athena's never going to get to graduate. Her family's never going to get to see her do anything, get married, and so I just hope that the family finds some peace.
Yes.
In the sentencing for them.
Yes, and I ask my folks, followers and viewers to pray for God's comfort for Athena's family and for God's provision for the family as well. Thank you so much, Rebecca Lopez, the senior crime and justice reporter at WFAA TV Channel 8. You are the best, and I appreciate you spending some time with me tonight. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the reporting you do. All
Yes,
right,
thank
take
you.
care now. Yes. So there we go. Really appreciate her coming on, and what an amazing amount of information and what a story. Let's see. We got some comments. We got Q-Town Dude, 1973 says, question was he ever previously convicted for rape? And that's exactly what we found out from Rebecca tonight with her great reporting, is that he was indicted for those two rapes of two 16-year-old girls at the time who are now, several years older. And then he also says we are not. He says we are not all children of God. That's true. We are created in His image, but only those that are born again are children of God. That's accurate. That's very accurate. He claims apparently in the trial he claimed he is a Christian now, but regardless, he still has to face God's justice, and it will be swift and terrible for him, obviously. And I'm grateful that our prayer. I asked you unflinchingly and boldly to pray for the death penalty for this man, to pray that he would be put in the ground, and today he has been. That is happening. It's going to happen, and the judge signed a death warrant for him today. It is a good day. Now, in a minute, the other huge story is this epic water park owned by Grand Prairie, paid for by a 1/4-cent sales tax by the people of the city of Grand Prairie. So this would be a publicly owned water park. Has, for the third year in a row, had a Muslims-only event scheduled to celebrate Eid al-Fitr, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Guess what? The people and this is put on by, I'm not going to surprise you, Epic City, or Epic Mosque, the same people trying to do Epic City, East Plano Islamic Center, are doing this, and they have the adverts, the publicly, advertisement thing they put out there says Muslims only. They have changed that today. I will tell you what it says now, and I will tell you all about this, the latest on this story, and you don't want to miss that. But that's coming up in 1 second. But first, this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, tax planning strategies. I will be meeting with Randy in a couple days. He has been my CPA I have my big file right here. I whittled it down. The one I showed you before is like this thick, but see, this is the one I'm bringing to Randy right here. But it was like this thick, and it's right in there, that desk right here. But he doesn't need to look at all the receipts and everything. He just needs all the information, and then he'll do it. He's not gonna, look through all 500 pages of documentation. That's my records. So I whittle it down for him with all the numbers, the totals, and everything like that. And I can't wait to see him again. And here's Randy. He won the Longhorn. He just made the Longhorn 100. He's a 2026 Longhorn 100 winner. He's, I think, number 34. That's a big deal. If you're an alumni from Texas and you get the Longhorn 100 winner, he is there with his beautiful wife Norma. They are our friends. We went to church together at First Baptist Dallas, and that sparked our friendship well before our almost 10-year-long relationship now. If you need a good CPA, if you need a tax planner, if you have IRS problems, if you have a loved one passed away and there's some tax issues, call Randy now. 214-214-3000, 214-214-3000, or go to irsprob.com and tell him Chris Croc sent you. The other one I get to tell you about is what I'm wearing right here. See this? Due West Foundation and Plumbing. Due West. If you want the best, call Due West. I didn't even buy this house until Due West came and inspected my plumbing and did a static plumbing test until they did a foundation inspection report for me. And they told me my house was on the bubble. And they said that if I would do these things, that I could not have to do any foundation repairs. And so I bought the house only because of them. And anytime I had to replace 17 feet of pipe underneath the house, they dug under there. They had to put piers up, and they replaced one of my lines in the house. They replaced my water heater. They've been here countless times installing new plumbing and everything. They have touched every aspect of this house, and they are the best. My friend Jim Dutton owns Due West Foundation and Plumbing. It's a multi-generational business. His dad in the 70s founded it. Jim took over, and Jim's sons are slowly, taking over. Adam and Johan. We know them. We're friends. My wife worked with them for 3 years, and his wife, Mary. So I cannot rave enough about Due West Foundation and Plumbing. If you want the best, call Due West. 972-406-0912. That's 972-406-0912. Or go to du-west.com. That's du-west.com and tell them Chris Croc sent you. All right? Okay. Epic City. Well. When people want to talk about the Islamization of Texas, the Islamization of DFW, it's accurate. Let's go over what's going on in DFW right now. You've got Epic East Plano Islamic Center, where I toured the area, and it is almost exclusively, if it is exclusively Islamic. You have Islamic street names. You have 700,000 to 2 million plus homes, and it's all Islamic because you can see Islamic, stuff all over the house. You know what I mean? It's their right to do it. I'm just saying, it's Islamicized. There's no integration. When you go to the local strip malls, there it's all Islamic. So there's no assimilation. And then we hear that Epic Mosque is trying to build Epic City, a literal Islamic city. I mean, I played the video again yesterday, promotional video yesterday, saying the focus of it is Islam, and there's going to be a mosque at the center of it all. That's the first thing they show. It was clearly a fair housing violation and many other violations. Well, actually, I don't know. All I know is that cannot be illegal. So they changed it from Epic City to the Meadows, and all sorts of seedy things have happened, causing our Attorney General to file multiple lawsuits, Governor Abbott to have multiple investigations, and we have an Islamic tribunal in Dallas. Literally, it's a Sharia court, Islamic tribunal that we talked about the other day. We have Sustainable Cities USA, which is a Muslim company with all Muslim people on the board from everything I've seen, and they're based in one of the Muslim countries. I believe it was UAE or something of that nature, or Dubai, and they have built 4 of these Muslim cities called Sustainable City, and they're all in Muslim countries, and they're all at the center of it is a mosque. And so they're trying to build Sustainable Cities USA in Kaufman County, And people obviously were like, what the heck? You're going to make a Muslim city. They're like, no, we're not. And now Lance Gooden, a Republican congressman from that area, claims that they called him up one day after all the people like you and me covering it and going after it and stuff. And they said, Lance Gooden he claims they told him that they were not going to do the city. But I don't trust one politician's word, and he has not told us who they is. They told me they're not doing it. That ain't good enough for me. Who is they? Do you have something in writing? Can we see it? Have they written that they will never try again, that they're never coming to Texas, they're never coming to the US of A? Have they said that? Who is they? Give me some letterhead. Show me what they say. Put it on paper. Nothing. Just take his word for it. I will not. I'm not attacking Congressman Gooden. I'm just saying I ain't trusting a politician's word with nothing in writing. Number 4 or whatever. You have Wiley ISD. We are now discovering tonight that the guy who spoke at the board and said everybody's racist that disagrees with him and calls out the passing out of Qurans, hijabs, and understanding Sharia pamphlets, which I've covered extensively, was saying everybody's racist and everybody's this and that. He appears to be the head of CARE in DFW and Austin, but didn't say that when he spoke. And he had a hat on. He may have been trying to cover up who he is and just speak as a parent. We're going to get into that big time tomorrow night because that crap is loco, and we're digging in. Citizen journalists that are helping me are digging in, and I'm confirming stuff. We're seeing his history, his coming from another city where he St. Louis, I believe, or Missouri, where he was the head of CARE there. So this is some wild stuff, and that's the guy showing up at Wiley ISD meetings saying that people like you and me that speak up at these meetings are racist and xenophobes, and how bad America is, and how his hometown and it says in one of his profiles that he's born in Lahore. He says, in my home country, we don't treat people like this. Dude, if that thing I saw online, you're from Lahore, Pakistan, you house bin Laden. Your country. And I had a friend in high school from Pakistan, but here's the deal. You can't be, I don't think you can be a Jew and walk around if you're in Pakistan without getting slaughtered. The Pakistani military, I believe it was, hid bin Laden in their heavily garrisoned area for years. And he's trying to tell us how great Pakistan is, how bad this country is, bringing up slavery, bringing up the Japanese internments and stuff like that. That is exactly what terrorist groups like CARE, our governor rightfully labeled CARE a terrorist organization. They are an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest ever terrorism fundraising case in U.S. history, Richardson, Texas-based Holy Land Foundation. So that is exactly the MO of CARE, according to wiretaps on your CARE meetings, not you, but CARE meetings, with the Holy Land Foundation officials, several of whom went to jail for decades for raising between $6 and $7 million, between $5 and $7 million, pretending it was Palestinian aid, but it was money to kill Jews. And you're going to lecture me and my country and say that people like us that speak out about the Islamization, about adult professional proselytizers allowed into a public school in the middle of the day, handing out Qurans, hijabs, telling one of the students, in his own words on my show, that you don't need Jesus. Wild, isn't it? And that's exactly the kind of stuff that CARE said on that wiretap in Boston at a hotel meeting with Holy Land Foundation that the FBI bugged and used in their trial to convict and send the Holy Land Foundation officials who CARE was co-conspirator with, talking about waging a nonviolent jihad. I believe it was CARE that said on that wiretap, we're going to use the freedoms and the laws of this land and the media to turn this country against itself to spread Islam. He called it a jihad. They called it a jihad, a nonviolent jihad. That's the same crap going on at Wiley ISD, and I'm not trying to freak out on you. I'm telling you the truth. Now, yesterday, something big got exposed. You had Epic Mosque, East Plano Islamic City Mosque, having the third annual DFW Epic Eid at Indoor Park. And look at the top right hand there. It says, what does it say? It says Muslim only event. Muslim only event. How in God's name, I've been asking, is this legal to have a Muslim only event when it is at a publicly owned, publicly funded water park in Grand Prairie, Texas, funded by a quarter percent sales tax, a quarter cent sales tax for everything purchased by the people of the city of Grand Prairie, paying for this so that you could have a Muslims-only event. You want to talk about violating civil rights? Let's talk about that. And the question I have tonight is, did they know that this was illegal? Did they know this Muslim-only event was illegal? I'm assuming it is. It surely seems like it must be. Do they know this is illegal or think it might be illegal and still do it anyway? Based on the arrogance and the power grab and the being exposed for trying to have a Muslim-only city, I have no faith in them other than to say they honestly, my belief, my guesstimation is they totally deceived everybody. Or excuse me, they're totally pretending that they didn't know this was legal, but don't care and do it to push and push and push and push. Part of the nonviolent jihad that Kara talked about on that wiretap. Well, look at what happened tonight. They changed, if you look on the upper right-hand corner, Muslim-only event, they changed it to this today. Look at this. Oh, look at the same area. Now, instead of saying Muslim-only event, it says modest dress only. Does this mean that you and I can buy tickets and go dressed modestly to their Eid water park? Does this mean that you and I should bring our cameras? And I'm not saying you should, nor am I saying you should harass or bother anybody. I will never support that. But does this mean that citizen journalists can, in an innocuous way, go and dress modestly and talk to people and do, interviews? Without letting them know they're, if it's in public, you can record a conversation. Does this mean that people can now show up and go, quote unquote, undercover and record stuff and talk to people and see what's going on over there? Because it doesn't say Muslims only anymore. So the other thing is, do we have a possible lawsuit? Do we have possible something that could be illegal or prosecuted or shut down? Journalist Sarah Gonzalez, and personality for The Blaze, Sarah Gonzalez, we follow each other on X. She said she has already notified Ken Paxton about this, and Ken Paxton follows me too. I'll send another thing too to him too, see if we can get a statement from him, or if he wants to come on. But so they changed it from Muslims only to modest dress only. That means they know they did something wrong. They haven't made any public statement. Let's look at their website tonight. Here it is. Look at this. DFW Eid Celebration, Epic Waters Indoor Park, largest indoor water park in North Texas. Purchase tickets and look there below. Third annual DFW Epic, modest dress. You see it at the bottom. There it is up on their website. They changed it officially. People were attacking Sarah Gonzalez, saying that she photoshopped it. She didn't Photoshop, but they changed it. It's on their website. I personally went to the website and grabbed that. So they're in trouble. And the city of Grand Prairie is in trouble. This is what happens when you cater to people because they're Muslim and you bow to them and you because you're afraid maybe of being called racist, because you're afraid of being pressured. And if this has happened 3 years in a row and this is illegal, it looks like it is. I don't know. If this is illegal, then somebody's going to get in big trouble on it, and somebody needs to be prosecuted, fined, punished, fired, something. And it better not be like Wiley ISD where nobody gets fired and punished and they pretend like they did something and nothing happened. Because that's why we're still going to go to Wiley ISD, by the way. And I'll be talking about them in depth tomorrow with the guy that I said from CARE who spoke and didn't say I'm from CARE. It'll be fascinating. I'm going to get a lot of info on that. Okay, so stay tuned for that tomorrow night. Let's see what I got here, too. Hold on one sec. Let's go to... Trust me, it's worth it. I'm looking at some things to share with you in real time here. Okay. All right. So, Epic Waters in Grand Prairie. They've changed it now to modest dress code or modest dress instead of Muslims only. The people are told to uphold Islamic etiquette. Well, if it can't be Muslims only, then how are you going to tell us to uphold Muslim etiquette? Are you controlling a publicly owned park in the name of Islam? Because they say also uphold Islamic etiquette by lowering the gaze throughout the day. You're supposed to lower the gaze. Don't look up. Don't look up. I wonder what would happen if some openly gay people showed up at the event. Here's what the women are told to wear. at the Epic Water Park Eid celebration, renting it out for the day, going from Muslims only to modest dress only. Here's what they're told to wear, including little girls. And so this is very interesting. Who's going to be at the door saying you're not modestly dressed? If I show up there, and who's going to be modestly dressed? Oh, let's look at the guys' clothing again here that they say guys should wear. Gee, that's pretty simple. I wonder, brothers, here's some inspiration for you too. And then look at the women. These are like Stepford women, Stepford wives. These are like the Handmaid's Tale. They say that Christians like myself are Handmaid's Tale. No. We ain't putting women in stuff like this. We ain't doing this. So where's the outrage from the left? There is none. This is something else. I don't think this is going away. This is just getting started. And it's supposed to happen on, I believe, June 1st. I'm going to make sure about that real fast here. Let's see. I think it's June 1st, Monday, June 1st, 3 to 8 p.m. So there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of action that can take place between now and June 1st. And I'm going to be calling the city of Grand Prairie tomorrow and talking to one of the spokespersons and seeing what we can find out. I'll record the conversation and get back to you on that. This is quite interesting. And how are they going to find out if you're Muslim? You're going to check your Muslim card? Who's going to be standing at the gate saying you're not modestly dressed enough? Who's going to be the enforcer? Is it going to be an imam? So, this is wild. And it's another thing from the East Plano Islamic Center. And unfortunately, I have more stuff to share with you about Islamization. This is from Texas Scorecard today, from Sidney Henry. Muslim University opening in Dallas. Now, look, there's nothing illegal about this, but it just goes to the aggressive Islamization of North Texas. I want to mention this because this is an Islamic university. I want to just talk about this with you. It's very offensive to me what Islamists did at UT Dallas. My son graduated from there in December. I'm very proud of him. Summa cum laude. Highest GPA you can earn. Fluent in Japanese. Creative writing. All sorts of stuff. Very proud of the boy child, as it were. The coverage of the Islamists with the after Hamas broke the ceasefire and attacked Israel and raped and violated women and children and murdered 1,200 people and kidnapped tons of people and killed 46 Americans. Radical Islamic terrorist supporters were on the campus of UT Dallas having an illegal Hamas, pro-Hamas rally. Some of them were had tables and desks they set up. They had propaganda supporting, terrorism and such. And they were flying these Palestinian flags and all sorts of stuff. And thank you, God, that we live in a conservative area and a conservative state. I believe it was Collin County deputies along with Richardson police officers that went in there and they cleaned freaking house. They threw the tables over. The tables were chained to something. They threw the tables over. They cuffed these sons of bees. And the ones that were being violent or aggressive were, thrown to the ground, cuffed and stuff. We're not playing here. So there is a radical Islamist terrorist supporting large group of Islamists at UT Dallas. And I know this even more in depth because they terrorized 2 Jewish students. One young Jewish girl who I'm really proud of, young Jewish woman who I'm really proud of. She was an out and proud Jew, and she leads, I think, one of the organizations on campus. And she was terrorized by these sick terrorist Islamists on UT Dallas. Some people were texting her vile things and sick things about Jew and also anti-Semitic comments. They followed her to her apartment off campus to terrorize her. Richardson police had to escort her. They terrorized a Jew in the same area that you and I live in a public Texas university, and attacked her, terrorized her. The same thing happened to a Jewish young man at the campus who was not out and loud and proud about being a Jew. He was just a regular guy. But they apparently saw his name, somehow figured out he was a Jew, just like Hitler's agents did, find the Jew, and terrorized him and harassed him and threatened him. And so it's with that I say, imagine this Muslim university that's about to open, that the Muslim mayor of the city of Richardson is loudly and proudly embracing, talking about, hey, there's going to be an office set up for me over there, ha, ha, ha. Imagine the kind of vile stuff you're going to see on that campus supporting radical Islamists and terrorists and Jew hatred. I pray it doesn't. But based on, we have a large Islamist population here, large enough. I saw it on UT Dallas. And then you had campus, and you had dozens and dozens and dozens, 50, 100, some odd people were outside of that jail when they were released from Collin County Jail, cheering them on, Islamists. It's with that where I'll share this from Texas Scorecard. Muslim University opens in Dallas. Texas A&M, or no, not Texas A&M. And I wonder if Texas A&M will actually sue, because it looks just like Texas A&M. It's Tex A&M. TEXAM University at Dallas is marketing itself as a new Dallas-based Texas American Muslim university that blends STEM degrees with mandatory Islamic studies and explicitly positions Islam at the center of its academic model. With a physical address in Richardson, not Dallas, the university has received a warm welcome from Mayor Amir Omar, the city's first Muslim mayor. Omar praised Tex AM's plans, said he already picked out a future office there. He also said helping the school succeed would be a part of successful tenure for him as mayor. So my question is, how many Islamists from UTD, how many Islamists that would go to that are going to go to this university now? Tex AM calls itself the first university in the USA to offer STEM degree programs embedded with mandatory courses in Islamic studies. Guys, the Islamization of Texas is much, 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 much further along than anybody realized. They say 30% of the coursework is devoted to Islamic subjects. They're aimed at the students who are looking for an explicitly Islamic environment, it says. Islamic economics, Islamic studies, Islamic math, and English. Well, now you have that. Wow. All right. So tomorrow, as I said earlier, I will have a lot of information about the man who supposedly was the head of CARE in Missouri, I believe, and I'll have the details tomorrow, who apparently came now to DFW to be the head of CARE for DFW in Austin. I remind you again that CARE is labeled properly as a terrorist organization in the state of Texas, and CARE is an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest ever terrorism fundraising case in U.S. history. CARE, by the way, also went back to a judge and tried to sue to get their name removed as an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest ever terrorism fundraising case in history. And the judge says, no, you are and always will be an unindicted co-conspirator. They're a co-conspirator in a case to raise up to $7 million to kill Jews, pretending it was for Palestinian aid. That's who CARE is. CARE's president, Nihal Awad, in their annual AMP conference in Chicago spoke, and he just said it was glory and the shackles, releasing the shackles. He was regaling in the satanic slaughter and rape and kidnapping of Jews and Americans. He was regaling it. Said that Hamas, or the Gaza was unshackled, and saying that Israel has no right to defend itself. He was so, he was like salivating, regaling in the slaughter and rape and killing of Jews and kidnapping and sexual torture of Jews. So there you have it. Now, a little more levity to the program, as it were. Let's see here. Oh, let's go to, I love this. Hey, Mayor Johnson, fake Republican in Dallas. Way to go, Mayor Johnson. You lost AT&T. Way to go. You are the winner. You have won. You lost AT&T, and now AT&T is gonna make its own disco ball. I like to call Reunion Arena Tower our disco ball. And yes, I've stayed at the Hyatt there and enjoy my time there. But look at this. It literally looks like another Reunion Arena Tower, but Plano is taking it from you guys, basically, and that's going to be the big beacon, and the CEO of AT&T is so happy, and they're sharing it. Look at that. There you go, Mayor Johnson. This is a tribute and a model to success for Mayor Eric Johnson, the fake Republican, who, if you say anything about him, he is so thin-skinned, he'll say you are racist. Racist. Remember that one journalist who said something like bro, and he's like, you can't call me bro, that's racist. You said that because I'm black. Mayor Johnson is a fake Republican. He only switched to Republican after he got reelected for his final term in Dallas mayor. And number two, he clings to using race baiting and race as a victim. He is a fake Republican. He did it because I believe he wants to run for statewide office. And so everybody's humping his leg. Fox News was humping his leg when he was said he's a Republican. This guy ain't no Republican. This guy's an opportunist who lost AT&T. Way to go, Mayor Johnson. I will never kiss your ring. You're a fake Republican. In the meantime, congratulations to Plano for winning it. Although Plano is a very liberal leftist city, its chief Ed Drain's woke. The city is very woke, etc. But what else do I have for you? This just came in today from Reuters. U.S. intelligence indicates limited new damage to Iran's nuclear program. Sources say U.S. intelligence assess that Iran would need to build a nuclear weapon. The time has not changed since last summer when analysts estimated that a U.S.-Israeli attack had pushed back the timeline up a year, according to three sources. We need to finish the job. And Trump right now he's not playing the game. Iran wanted to bait him into getting back into war. For their breaking the ceasefire. Iran did break the ceasefire. But he is going to attack if and when he wants to, not when they want us to. The blockade is working. We probably need another 3 to 4 weeks for them to cripple their entire oil industry. Once they shut in the wells, it's horribly damaging and can take years to restart it up again. That's 40% of their entire economy is oil. So I'm very... please, but Trump had better not make some deal with these people. They are Islamist terrorists. It's the same regime. There's been no regime change. That is a lie, unfortunately, from the Trump administration. Let's go to this. Let's see. I think I have my video of this somewhere. Let's see. Where is it? I got some video of... nope, that's not it. There was an incident with... a motorbike. Some guy was on a motorbike and was being chased by a lady in the neighborhood on a sidewalk. I swear to you I had it, but I don't know where it went. That's okay. Let's go on to the next one. Spokane County, a woman's facing felony and misdemeanor charges after allegedly driving onto a sidewalk and trying to hit a juvenile on a dirt bike. Then later showing up at a stranger's home and attempting to break in. Woo! That's a Karen. That's a Karen and a half. What else do I have here? Okay, let's go to these unbelievable mental midgets and at the Met Gala and just look at these. They're beclowning themselves. They're buffoons. They're embarrassing, and the outfits are so ugly and sick. Look at these people. I mean, what is this stuff? And this is, I think, the Disney lady, Rachel I think that's Rachel Ziegler, the woke leftist actress who flopped and destroyed Snow White because of her wokeness. It was Snow Woke.
Look around. That's right on your right.
She's going to open this hatch on her face. This is so ridiculous.
Casey, look at this. Look at this way.
Okay, that's not Ziegler. Maybe it is. I don't even know. Look at this. Look at this. That looks like an alien caterpillar. I mean, that looks horrendous. Look at this. It literally looks like an alien has... It's like an alien, half human. Is that a Kardashian? Look at this guy. Look at this guy. This guy looks, I think he's trans or something. This guy looks like a wicked witch. A wicked tranny witch or something, you know? Look at this. Look at this. That at least, I don't know, is that J-Lo? I don't even know who that is. That at least looks fanciful and whatever and interesting. Although, what's the fur? She got like Sasquatch fur on her arms? I don't know. Hold on, let's keep going. That's whoever that is. J-Lo or somebody. I don't know who that is. All right. Okay, I think that's Rachel Ziegler. And then she does some jaw thing this woman looks like an actress on Saturday Night Live parodying her. Watch. Not her, but wait, here we go. Look at this. Watch. Look at her jaw. Look at her jaw.
She's fine, guys.
Look at that. Her jaw's jutting out. Look at her. Look at her. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Now, is that the Statue of Liberty? This is like, I'll tell you, the guy with the feather on his head and this person, I think it's a lady, literally look like they're in a Disney movie in the Halloween mansion. This is look at this. What is that? Is that Statue of Liberty? A ghost of Statue of Liberty? Wow. I mean, what did we just see? My eyes hurt. I threw up in my mouth. My eyes hurt. Hell, now I need some help down here. All right, see, you've never been able to see me do that. Now I need some help down here. Okay, what else do I have for you? Woo! Hold on. I'm having fun with, over here. Let's see. Hold on. I gotta pull something else up here. Hold on. 1 second. Where? No, that's not it. What do I want? Wait. Hold on. Where is it? There it is. Okay. I want to be able to see comments and such. Okay, let's see what else I have for you. We're almost done. What else do I have? Oh, speaking of the Met Gala, look at this. This is a transgender, quadriplegic or paraplegic model, and I want to accurately say what this is because this is really incredible. What's going on here? You have to see this in a second. I want to get this right. Let me. You got to see this. Hold on. I got to go down to the section so I can tell you. This is Erin Rose Phillip, and you're going to hear her blame whiteness for lack of trans black disabled models on runways. Trans black disabled models. This is a trans black disabled model, and I believe it's a man. I'm not trying to be rude, but I believe she or he's a man because I think he's trying to look like a woman. But black, trans, paraplegic, or quadriplegic. Here we go, guys. This is the modeling. That person, that man, has a modeling contract. And then now here she's going to lecture us, or he's going to lecture us on how whites are to blame for him not having a modeling contract.
When I first started working, I was an anomaly to the industry. Arguably, in many ways today, really I still am. I think it's time to see the...
I'm a victim. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a victim. Behold, I was signed on a modeling contract because I am a victim. There is no other reason why I'm a model other than I'm a victim.
Today...
And I'm trans. If he's Muslim, it's a trifecta. You can't touch the guy.
Today... Really, I still am. I think it's time to say the quiet part out loud. The fashion industry is unlikely to book or pay black trans feminine and or physically disabled models to do runway, editorial, and or campaign because of an absence of whiteness.
Woo! Now this is a great way to close out here. Look at this guy. Hold on, but let's go back to There we go. He's on the cover of Vogue. Anyway, look at this. There you go. So just remember that he's not. Other people like him aren't successful because of white supremacy modeling places. Okay, we got it. Thank you very much, man. Okay, thank you. All right, carry on. This show has been brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy Martin's been my CPA for almost 10 years now, well over 9 years. I'll be seeing him this week. Call him. If you have tax problems or IRS problems, or if you want tax planning strategies, if you want a tax planner, he's the man. Just let him know Chris Crock sent you to IRSPROB.com or call 214-214-3000. I will see you tomorrow, where we're going to cover that big stuff going on with what appears to be the head of care for DFW in Austin, was speaking at the Wiley Islamic over the Wiley School Board, Wiley ISD School Board, over the Islamization, calling all of us racist, horrible, and bigoted. Don't miss